the reason why we've picked the theme today of create the future is, firstly, we're really excited about the future. And the other thing is, we think it's genuinely important. We think it's really important as businesses that we're thinking about the future. I think this quote kind of sums it up. This is from Jack Welch, who is the CEO of GE for 20 years. If the rate of change outside your organisation is quicker than the rate of change inside your organisation, then the end is near and you've got a problem on your hands. It's pretty straightforward, really, isn't it? But, we passionately believe in this stuff at the IAB, and we think it's really important as an industry we start to think about the future and how it's changing. And we'll talk a bit today about how we make those changes, and you'll hear Mock at the end of the day talking about the culture that we create in our businesses. And I think that's a really important thing, because when we think about change, the first thing we typically do as businesses is we say to our people, hey guys, we need to innovate, we need to think outside the box, we need to change, be creative, do things differently. But actually, when you say that to people, if you haven't created the right culture, what you often get back is people don't innovate and they don't change. And then you think, well, maybe it's the people we've got. Maybe all the good ones have gone to Google or Amazon, and we're just left with everything else. But yeah, come on, we've got a room of amazing, creative people here today, right? I think often that the little messages that we send to people that sit around that, it's one thing saying to people, be innovative and be creative, but if every other message you say screams something different, then it's very hard for people to change and to actually do it. Let's talk about procurement for a second as an example. And I'm sorry to pick on procurement. Hopefully there are no procurement people here, because they won't like me by the end. And I'm sorry, but to pick out an example of some random procurement website here from IAB, because I'm sure they're actually very good. But I think that the unintended consequences of things like procurement on innovation, I think are quite big, because if you take away decisions from people, if you say to people, without really realising, we don't really trust you to choose your own seat at work. We think we can probably choose a seat better than you can, so we'll buy your seat for you. We don't really trust you to choose your own computer. We'll buy your computer for you. You definitely can't download stuff on your computer. Who knows what you might do? So we'll tell you when you can and can't download things. Your notebook, we should probably decide what notebook you use. I mean, even your bloody pen, right? It's like, imagine the catastrophe we'd face as a business if we let people choose their own pens. I mean, it would be ridiculous, right? And here, this example here, a pen costs £1, but actually could be costing your business £2.25. Could it? I mean, storage, 40% extra spent on storage, 34% to pay someone to buy the pen, 15% on your accounts department to check that you've bought the pen, 6% on obsolescence, that's my favourite. My biro's gone out of date. Can I have a biro 2.0, please? Imagine a world where you actually said to people, hey, do you know what? You buy your own pens. We trust you. And all of a sudden, you've not got to pay for storage. You've not got to pay for purchasing. People could just buy it when they wanted to buy it. And imagine the trust people might feel if you actually said to them, we actually trust you to make a decision. We trust you to, be sensible. And I think unwittingly, we sometimes create a culture that doesn't scream innovation. And in our industry, I think the other thing that we're sometimes pretty bad at is thinking about the long term. We obsess with the short term in this industry. And this, I really like this example. This is from, so Amazon is also 20 years for them this year since they IPO'd. So this is the first letter that Jeff Bezos sent to his shareholders 20 years ago. And I thought it was really interesting, because actually he really sets out in there about how Amazon are going to be different. And most of that really was about we're going to work for the long term. We're going to obsess with the long term and really feature on it. We're really going to focus on it. And surely every business should be doing this, right? He talks about creating long-term shareholder value. Surely every business should be trying to do that. But for some reason, actually it's different. And we don't really do it as businesses, do we? I think we tend to, and again, particularly in this industry, right? We obsess with meeting our weekly numbers, meeting our quarterly numbers, and we don't take that step back and think about the long term. So, as I said, the IAB is 20 years old as well this year. And the aim for the IAB when we first started was pretty straightforward. It was just, let's bloody grow this industry. When you're starting from nowhere, it's a much easier thing to do. And the aim of the IAB was to grow the IAB, but we've got, the world has moved on now, 20 years. We've got to the point now where this year the majority of spend in the UK will be digital. And when you get to that point, the spotlight comes on you, and I think things change. And digital advertising has had a whole heap of challenges this year. And in the past, I think we've often used nascency as a reason for why some of these challenges exist. We're a new medium. There are obviously going to be challenges along the way, and that's still true as things change. But I think the thing that's really changed this year is we can't use that as an excuse anymore. That can't be the reason. We're 20 years old. We really need to fix the problems that exist. So enough is enough, I think now. We really need to change as an industry, and we need to change as an IAB. So we're really excited today to share with you some of the new stuff that we're focusing on at the IAB and some of the new projects we're focusing on and our new mission and direction for the IAB, which the eagle-eyed of you may have spotted outside. But this is our new IAB mission that we're sharing for the first time today, which is building a sustainable future for digital advertising. So we think it's really important that the IAB takes a step back and thinks about that long-term vision of digital. I think, if we don't do it, who is going to do it? And I think there's a big job for us to do. And how we're going to do this, we're going to focus on three things. We need to tackle and address the big issues. We need to keep celebrating what's amazing about digital, because there is so much amazing stuff. And we need to help businesses prepare for the future, which is very much what today is about. And there's let me share three things, first of all, that we think are really important about the IAB and what we do. Firstly, that we're the trusted source for people. We simplify digital. We inspire brands with the unique abilities of it to reach and wow people. We want to focus on sustainable growth, not just short-term growth for the industry. And I guess really our USP is that we bring people together to achieve things that they can't do on their own. And the last thing I think is important, but it's easy for us to forget, is we need to make a digital industry that works for everyone. So that means it has to work for people too. We have to get the ad experience right for people, otherwise, again, this thing will not work for the long term. So what will change from the IAB? I think, we've been very much focused on growth in the past as an industry. Now we want to be focused on doing things better. We've been very much focused on the short term. We want to be focused on the long term and a sustainable future. And where we've listened in the past, listening becomes more important, but actually we want to be leading the industry as well. So 5 things that we're going to do, and this is not everything, but I wanted to share 5 new things with you for the first time today as well. We're going to establish a new gold standard for digital advertising. We want to tackle measurement head on. We're going to change our persona externally. We're going to have a radical change for our events program. And we're going to change the way we focus on brands and agencies. So let me quickly talk you through each of those 5 things. So the first thing that we're really excited about to announce today is a new gold standard for digital advertising. And we're going to focus on 3 things: ad fraud, brand safety, and the consumer ad experience. If you want to find out more about it, here's the URL. Please do have a read. But this has been spearheaded by 23 companies from our board, these 23 companies here. And as of today, we're rolling this out to all of our members to invite them to take part in this as well. So it's the first time that all of these companies have come together and made a public commitment to raise standards in digital. So what have they committed to do? The first thing that all of these companies have committed to do is to implement ads.txt. I won't go into lots of detail about it. You can find out more about it online. But if you're not aware of ads.txt, it's just a straightforward way of reducing spoofing of sites, which is one of the major causes of fraud. The second thing that everyone on this list has agreed to do is to commit to work with JICWebs to ensure the brand safety part of JICWebs is relevant to everyone with a view to signing up to it. So again, that's the first time that everyone on this list has publicly committed to do that. And then the last thing, the third thing that everyone on this list is committing to is the Coalition for Better Ads identified 12 ads that consumers didn't like. So that was done, if you're not aware of the CBA, they did a big kind of global piece of research to look at user experiences. They found 12 ad formats that consumers really don't like. And everyone on this list has agreed to stop serving any ads that were on that list. So any ads that consumers don't like, so everyone on here will stop serving as well. So that's quite a big step forward for us. It doesn't solve everything. It's only step one. It's definitely not the final goal, but I think that's a really significant step forward for everyone on this list to make that kind of commitment. Now we need you. We need, most of you in this room are actually from the buyer side, and you decide where the money goes. And I think the fact you're here today probably reflects the fact that you care about the digital industry. So we want to make sure that you feel the same way about this that we do. I think you have the power kind of within your budgets to reward the companies that are doing the right thing. We want to work with you to make sure that the companies that are doing the right thing are the ones where your budgets go to. It's only step one, but step one's taken quite a lot of work to get to. So I should thank Tim for all the work he's put into to getting us this far. Everyone on that list that spent a lot of effort to get us this far, and also all the other trade bodies that are supporting this. So ISBA and the IPA, and also the AOP in particular, that have really helped us with the publishers on this list. So that's number one, gold standard. Number two is tackling measurement. So a big job to do. So the first thing that we're announcing is we will have, for the first time, additional dedicated headcount to focus on measurement. We're also announcing a new cross-council working group to focus on measurement. There's other stuff that's important too. We will continue to support and work with UCOM. The other thing is, I think this is really, again, a cross-industry issue where we really need to work with ISBA and the IPA to really address. The third thing is being more proactive and positive on the big issues. And one of the things I think people say to me a lot is, could the IAB not be a bit more like ThinkBox? Could we not be a bit more aggressive in our stance? And I think the important thing is, ThinkBox is very different, right? ThinkBox is a marketing body paid for by its members to market TV, paid for by its shareholders, in fact, to market TV. We're not. We're a trade body. We're paid for by our members to build on best practice, standards, talk to the government, build policy. And so we have to take a different tone of voice with things. We are not going to be the trade body that goes out and aggressively attacks other media. That's just not going to be us. But what we will do is we'll call out stuff when we think it's wrong. And we will passionately defend digital. Here's one example of this from a few weeks ago, an open letter that we wrote to Dear Bob, who wrote a letter attacking the progress of the digital industry, and quoted this tweet here. Want a gag? Read this all shit? That was something I wrote. The main thing is, I'm totally over it. And I didn't think that I should choose this opportunity to call it out on stage in front of 1,000 people, because that would just be childish. So I'm definitely over that. That's fine. The next thing we're going to do is a big change to our event schedule. So you may or may not be aware we do a ton of events and training at our Macklin Street event space. That will continue, but actually that will get better. So we'll have more practical focus sessions there. The other thing that will change will be our external conferences. So we're actually going to focus just on 3 next year, and make them all bigger and better than they have been on the past. We have our Leadership Summit, and each of these 3 kind of have a different focus. So the Leadership Summit is about the leaders in digital getting together to improve it. That will move to February next year. Engage, for the first time, will move to June. Bold move, but we're feeling brave, so we're going to move to June. And the reason for that is we've got a new conference that, again, we're really excited to announce today, which is our non-ference, which I have to be careful not to mispronounce, which will be in November next year. And that will be something very different. So we hope that you come along to that, but it'll be something very different from us, more of an unconference where you have more of a hands-on experience with digital. The last thing that we're doing, and the reason why probably a lot of you are in the room today, is that we want to engage more with brands and agencies. So we've made all of our events now free for agencies, but that's just the start of it. We've got a roundtable series coming up. We've got events and training. We've made all of our events and training, in fact, CPD certified. So for a lot of you in agencies, hopefully that's beneficial to you. We've also got a new advertiser advisory group that's headed by Rasheen Donnelly, who joined us as a non-exec this year as well. So that's just 5 things. That's not all the things that we're doing, because I didn't want you to have to listen to me all day long, but hopefully it gives you a picture that we're trying to do things differently, and everything we do will sit behind this. So everything we do will be focused on building a sustainable future for digital advertising, and we're really excited about that and very passionate about it. So that's how we're changing. Today is about how you can change, and hopefully you'll learn some stuff about innovation and some of the new exciting things that happen. I thought this was a really interesting study. This was done at Harvard over 10 years ago, in fact, now. But it looked at newspaper companies and which ones were winning in digital and which ones weren't. And they spent ages trying to look at, what are the tactics that people do, what are the strategies they employ. And actually, they just couldn't find the answers. And actually, it came down to the psychology of it. It came down to how you think about digital and your mindset that really, affects how effective you are. So what they found was the newspaper companies that saw digital as a threat didn't do very well, because human nature, you think of something as a threat, you get nervous, you either bury your head in the sand or you run off scared. Those that saw digital as an opportunity didn't do very well. Again, see something as being this amazing, exciting opportunity, and you don't necessarily have the impetus to make the kind of changes that you need to make. Actually, the ones that won were those that saw it as both an opportunity and a threat. And I hope you could just think about that today, and all the things that you're kind of hearing and all the stuff you're hopefully learning today. That I think that's really important, that if to go back to Jack's quote at the start, if the world is changing faster outside your organisation than it's changing inside your organisation, then you've got a problem on your hands. We don't want that to happen, and that's kind of why we're here. We want to help you with that. So thank you.